I'm going to sentence Mr. Jackson to life imprisonment without possibility for extended supervision.
Now, though, she'll spend the rest of her life behind bars for the murder of Shannon Griffin.
It is awful to consider a teenager receiving a life sentence in prison, and it begs many difficult questions about the legal system. So what happens when a young person is given a life sentence without the possibility of parole? How do they respond to the news? Jennifer Mee. When footage of Jennifer's uncontrollable hiccup surfaced online, she quickly became an internet sensation. She said that she hiccuped 50 times every minute, earning the title Hiccup Girl. Mee was a guest on a number of television programs. She even made numerous appearances on NBC's Today Show. Dr. Bob Lind finally provided her with hiccup relief. She lost her status as the Hiccup Girl, and her popularity faded. She reportedly fled her house and began dating Lamont Newton, despite the fact that her motivations were unknown. Mee came up with a plan to set up online robberies for victims alongside Newton and Lauren Rayford. Shannon Griffin stumbled into their trap in 2010. Griffin was persuaded to visit Mee, who was 19 at the time, at Newton and Rayford's home. The man was robbed and then murdered with 4 shots. Despite the fact that police were unable to identify which of the 3 suspects really shot the man, they were all detained and accused of murder. Mee and her companions allegedly confessed the murder, according to the authorities. At the trial, a taped conversation between Mee and her mother was played. Mee was found guilty of first-degree murder in 2013 and given a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Mee started crying as soon as she received her punishment. Here is an interview of Mee 2 years after being sentenced to life sentence without the chance of parole.
What happened to that sweet 15-year-old girl that we first met?
I couldn't even tell you. I got cased up with the wrong crowd of people, really. Unfortunately, when I started experimenting with drugs, I just felt like I was invincible to everything.
Martise Fuller. Kaylee Juga, who was 15 at the time, and her mother, Stephanie, had been organizing a camping trip for the whole family. But regrettably, the trip was never executed. Kaylee, who had broken up with her boyfriend Martise Fuller weeks earlier, was in her room listening to music when the tragedy happened. Fuller accuses Kaylee of being the cause of his problems after she got him kicked out of school and off the football team. He sneaked into Kaylee's room on May 9, 2019, carrying a weapon. Fuller was a frequent visitor to the home and was familiar with it. The 15-year-old Fuller shot Kaylee 5 times after entering her room. When the mother heard gunshots and went outside to investigate, Fuller turned on her, shot her again, and fled. Fortunately, she made it. Shortly after, Fuller was detained and charged with attempted murder, burglary, and murder. Even though the authorities discovered the gun he gave a relative to dispose of matched the one used in the crime, he insisted throughout the trial that he was innocent, even though Kaylee's mother saw him and gave a statement. She broke down later as she talked about losing her daughter.
She was always by my side, and she was my biggest cheerleader. Now I'm lost. I just feel so lost without her. We don't get to see her graduate high school this year. We don't get to see her go to college. We don't get to see her get married or adopt children like she wanted to.
When Fuller was given the chance to speak in court, he insisted that he was innocent and accused the media of casting him in a negative light. Here's a letter written by him that was read by his attorney.
So I am sorry. Despite the hatred that is against me, I still am sorry. But I have to continue to stand innocent because I am.
As the judge read down Fuller's sentence, life in jail without the possibility of parole, he displayed no sign of remorse.
I don't have any ability to trust that you will never commit these acts. You are a very dangerous and a damaged human being.
Shondell Jackson. The University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee's Nathan Potter, a 21-year-old bright film student, had most likely made preparations for his life's course following graduation. But fate had some other plans. Nevertheless, Shondell Jackson, a 19-year-old, and his accomplices' plans did not pan out. On that fatal day, 20-year-old Derek Thomas stopped Potter as he was making his way to his apartment, grabbed him, and declared him a fine target for robbery. Thomas was supposed to be the watchman while Jackson robbed Potter, but the robbery went wrong. Jackson shot Potter in the chest, murdered him, and then ran away because Potter didn't have any money. Though they didn't remain hidden for long, police finally located them, arrested them, and charged them with the murder of Jackson after receiving a tip from Jackson's uncle. Jackson displayed a carefree attitude throughout the trial, and as he was led from the courtroom, his victim's family could see him grinning and mouthing obscenities. Jackson's mother acknowledged hearing the news in her statement to the court, but argued that her son wasn't a monster.
When I saw it on the news, I even cried. I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine what that mother is going through. I never had a clue that my child had anything to do with it. My son is not a monster. He is not a monster.
When County Circuit Judge Rebecca Dallett gave Jackson a life sentence without the possibility of parole for 1 count of felony murder, Jackson's demeanor turned violent. He cursed the judge, so court officers had to wrestle him to the ground, pepper spray him, and restrain him.
I am going to go ahead on count 1, the first-degree intentional homicide conviction, and I am going to sentence Mr. Jackson to life imprisonment without possibility for extended supervision.
Literally got chills listening to what they have done and the way they reacted. Which of these responses touched you the most? Was the sentence imposed on these teenagers appropriate for the crime? Share your thoughts in the comments area.